Welcome to So It's a Show, a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Kyla.
And today we are here to talk about the third episode of Gilmore Girls in our fourth episode.
That's kind of confusing.
I know. That silly revival made us add an extra episode.
Yeah, we might have to fix that.
Kyla, before we start, I did want to tell you, guess what I am doing while we record?
Hopefully nothing. I'm paying complete attention to this.
Well, it's nothing that will distract me.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for that reminder.
Wait, I think I know.
Are you going to guess?
Yeah. Are you sipping on Brazilian coffee?
I am. I'm drinking Brazilian Santa Clara coffee in my Luke's mug.
What do you think?
It's so good. I'm really liking it. For the record, Kyla sent me Brazilian coffee, and it made my heart happy. And Brazilian chocolate, which was delicious.
Right? Much better than stuff around here in the USA.
I actually don't know what the filling was. It might have been marshmallow, but whatever it was delicious.
Oh, I didn't know it had filling. I couldn't read the label.
I just know it had a little girl named Luana on it.
Oh.
And yes, they named her, which I thought was adorable. So I just wanted you to know that's what I'm doing. And Kyla, you are awesome. Thanks for the coffee.
Well, you started my Gilmore Girls poster paraphernalia collection, so I didn't have anything, but now I have my favorite quote: "What she tackles, she conquers." So thank you.
Well, and so the little backstory I did not tell you. There was one night we were FaceTiming, and I actually had something in the cart for you that was Gilmore Girls themed, and then you mentioned how much you loved that quote, and I went, wait, I saw something else with that quote on it. So I got that for you instead.
Oh, thank you. Very personal.
Yes, it was perfect timing. I was so glad I had not hit the buy button yet.
Well, shall we hop into this?
Yes, let's talk about Peyton Place.
Peyton Place.
Alrighty. So should we play the clip then?
Let's play the clip.
She caught him in the pool house with the tennis pro, not the riding instructor.
I had no idea.
That committee of yours is not looking at people as much as you think.
Oh, why would they? From what you've told me, they're all involved in one nefarious activity after another.
It's a conspiracy.
Oh, it's Peyton Place. Is there more?
Can you handle it?
Oh, I'll steel myself.
So, I guess I don't think about this a lot, but Richard Gilmore is quite the gossip.
Yeah, I think he's a lot like his wife in that way.
And yes, in that scene, Rory and Richard were exchanging some gossip that they overheard while they were in the steam rooms at the club after doing a little golf on Saturday morning.
Oh, what a hard day.
I know, they really deserve that steam.
But yeah, when I heard it, I guess you kind of assume, I guess I did, that Peyton Place, some sort of place where, it's a place where nefarious acts happen. I just assumed a lot of drama and behind people's backs.
Yeah.
That kind of place.
Yeah, I think that's about my knowledge of it. I don't think I had ever heard of the show before I watched Gilmore Girls. Although, actually, right before we went to record this episode, my mom mentioned that my grandma used to watch this show in the 60s.
Oh, wow, it really is old.
Yeah. So my mom said she was really young and she was not allowed to watch it at the time. But my grandma watched it on TV. So I'll have to ask her about it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance before the episode.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, then it's fitting that Richard brought it up.
Yes.
It was that old.
He would have been around to watch it, or at least be aware of it.
Yeah. So, Peyton Place, though, we should say, it was a book, and then became a TV show, or then became a movie, and then a TV show. I'm not sure the order.
I think, well, the book came first, and actually, when I was doing a little bit of research on the book, this is not where I thought I would find it, but I found a list of the top 10 racy novels on Time's website. And this, this article was published in 2012, and it's in relation to 50 Shades of Grey, which I would not have expected this. But apparently, at the time the book came out, it was quite a scandal. This is according to Time. Behind the picturesque facade of an idyllic New England setting lays a hornet's nest of lust, incest, abortion, and adultery.
Oh my.
But it was on the New York Times bestseller list for 59 weeks and banned in some places.
So were they saying in the article about the most scandalous books, was it of the time, or are they concluding that it is still just as scandalous?
I think it means of the time. It's a little unclear, but because everything else I've read, I think today it would not be so scandalous. But at the time, it was considered scandalous. And so today, a book that is considered scandalous is 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes. Not that I would know, but I hear and I see pictures.
Yes. It's hard not to hear about it.
No.
And
when Taylor Blake is, or not Taylor, when Taylor Swift is singing about it in your ear.
Yes, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Here's something else from the Time article. It says, the television show and the movie and the term Peyton Place has since become shorthand for any locale thought to have a wealth of secrets behind its closed doors. Dun, dun, dun.
That is fitting to the country club, apparently, then.
Yes. Although perhaps not quite as dramatic as the actual Peyton Place.
No, I would agree.
Yes.
When you have teenagers, adults, all mixed into one, it's going to be more drama than if you just have some 50 or 60-year-old men playing golf, I think.
Yes.
So tell me about the TV show, because I watched the movie and Taylor watched the TV show. So we want to compare.
Yes. So I watched the first episode of the TV show. There actually were 514 episodes of this show.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a primetime soap, and for a while it was on 2 nights a week, sometimes even 3 nights a week. I know, like, I can't imagine a show being like today, the only things that would be on more than 1 night a week are things like American Idol or The Voice or competition shows like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is based off of the book, but the executive producer is a guy named Paul Monash. And one thing he didn't like about the book is it felt like it was attacking the town that the author, Grace Metalius, if I'm saying that correctly, it felt like she was attacking the town she grew up in, which Peyton Place is not a real town, but it's inspired by the New England town she grew up in. Whereas he wanted to make something that was more affectionate for the town. And he said he wanted to make a novel for television. So he wanted to have a lot of growth for characters that went over time. And when I watched the first episode, it was a little melodramatic. So there's a guy cheating on his wife and a teenage love triangle, and small town, everybody knows everybody. But this article that I found from the AV Club by Stephen Bowie in 2013, and we'll have to share this on Twitter because it's so interesting. I read the whole thing and was highlighting a whole bunch. But it's talking about how at the time it was sort of dismissed as a silly show, but on retrospect, it's actually very thoughtful and well made comparative to other shows at the time, like The Twilight Zone and The Fugitive. And it's all about just trying to dramatize the everyday lives of ordinary people. So I'm trying to see what else. Oh, did you know that Leslie Nielsen guest starred? The guy you might know from Airplane or Naked Gun.
Wow, hard to imagine him in this show in black and white. Potentially. Was the show in black and white?
Well, it started in black and white and then it moved to color by the end. Okay. And actually in the show, he played a doctor with a rare tropical disease and an identical twin brother.
There's got to be an identical twin in all of those.
Oh, yes. If it's got soap somewhere in the description, it needs that. Yes. I'm trying to see. Oh, and this is also the show that launched Mia Farrow and Ryan O'Neal, who you might know from Love Story or Paper Moon. So those are 2 big actors of the 60s and 70s that this is where they got their start.
Huh. I do not know those actors, but I'm glad they got their start.
I am certain that you have probably seen Mia Farrow in something. She was married to Woody Allen for a while. And she's been in so many movies too. But also, something that I found interesting about Peyton Place is that there's quite a bit of overlap with some of the themes of Gilmore Girls. So they're, like, in addition to everyday lives of ordinary people, this article from the AV Club is talking about how character and atmosphere were more important than plot. They were emphasizing the micro over the macro. I would definitely say that's true of Gilmore Girls. Here's another good quote. Money, or more accurately, class, was Peyton Place's overarching subject. And I think that is totally true of Gilmore Girls. Class and money. And I also, Kyla, I have to show you just a little bit of a clip here.
Okay.
You're Michael Rossi.
Yes, how did you know?
I'm Matthew Swain, publisher, Peyton Place Clarion.
Oh, huh.
I put your picture in the paper. Impressed?
Absolutely.
Ever lived in a small town?
Well, can't say that I have.
Well, you have an experience ahead of you. Some morning you're going to wake up and realize that every face you see is familiar. And you're going to have a definite feeling about each person, and they'll have a definite feeling about you. They may love you or hate you, but they won't be indifferent.
I hope that's true.
And
It's one of the reasons I came to Peyton Place.
as they're pulling
Good
out,
night,
you've
Mrs.
got to look at what's right behind him.
A gazebo.
Yeah.
Oh. That warms my heart a little.
I know.
Yeah, that really does sound like the description of how the small town in Gilmore Girls functions.
Yeah, so the person talking, the main character there who had just arrived is Michael Rossi, who's going to be the doctor in the small town. And in the very first episode, he arrives in town. And somebody who's lived there a while, I think it's the guy who works at the newspaper, if I remember correctly, he was explaining to him how the small town works.
Yeah, that sounds like Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, ta-da! So, I mean, there is way more about this TV show that I could just keep going on and on. There's also a lot of drama about how it got created, but we'll just share the article when it comes out, or maybe we can share it in our episode notes too. So if you want to learn more about the history of Peyton Place, the TV show.
It's there. But now let's get on to the real star of the show, Peyton Place, the movie.
Oh, yes.
You know, because I watched it. So
it's more exciting.
Well, to me. So Peyton Place, a little bit of background on the movie. It was in color, so it probably came out after the TV show then, or at least at some point after it had begun. It was actually the second highest grossing film of 1958. So I think people were already pretty drawn into it.
Oh, well, if it's 1958, then it's before, because the TV show was 1964 to 1969.
Oh, okay. So it was the second highest grossing film of 1958.
Oh, wow.
It was released in December 1957, but it actually did not do well at the box office in the first few months of release. It did pretty poorly. But something interesting in real life happened that changed that. In the movie itself, a young girl, she's about 19 or 20, she kills her stepfather who had raped her and actually impregnated her and beat her mother. So he was a bad guy, and that was a major plot line in the movie. Spoiler alert, she goes to trial, she gets off. They decide it's self-defense. So in real life, in April of 1958, so just a few months after the movie came out, the lead, Lana Turner, who plays Constance Mackenzie, she's the mother of a good girl, Allison. Her daughter killed her abusive lover, a mobster, Johnny Stoppanato. So the press coverage of that event, because it was all famous people, it boosted ticket sales by 32%. And then it grossed $25,600,000 in the U.S.
Holy cow.
Can you believe that? I mean, who would have thought it wasn't even just a real life event with other people. It was people in the movie.
What?
That this then happened to in real life.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and what's weird is that plot was considered for the TV show and then got scrapped during development.
Really?
Yeah, so, like, the character of Allison shows up, but basically she's just stuck in a love triangle with the cute jock at school and his kind of no good girlfriend.
Huh, that's so interesting. Maybe they thought that they had exhausted it because in the movie it's what made the movie do so well in the end.
Yeah, well, and not okay, so in the finale of Peyton Place the TV show, the doctor, Rossi, is on trial for murder. And he had killed a guy who had just tried to rape another character. So I don't know if that's some sort of version of what happened in the movie, but that's so interesting that
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not believe that when I read that. Very remarkable. That helped it become what it became, and maybe that's why it was even mentioned in Gilmore Girls because of that unexpected fame. So, yeah, that was something that was really interesting from the movie. So that's one plot line from the movie, that murder, but lots of others. What I noticed right away in this, let's see, how long was the movie? 2 hours, almost 3 hours long. I think it was 2:45, 2 hours, 45 minutes. So spent a lot of time with this film, and the entire beginning, characters would talk to each other about how if something happens, everyone finds out. And if you walk with a man, then it becomes you were dancing with a man. And if you hug a man, you were making love to a man. And everything is just blown out of proportion. But none of that happens in the first hour and 10 minutes of the movie. The biggest drama is that a teacher who they thought was going to become the principal did not get the job.
Oh,
dun, dun.
Scandal.
Yeah, so in the first hour and 10 minutes, that was it. But at that hour and 10-minute mark, things took off in a tragic way, and the girl was raped by her stepfather. And then things do take off from there. But I'm not sure if the feeling of lack of drama to me was because what I was watching wasn't dramatic to me, or if it was because of movie and how entertainment was crafted in the day. Things took a lot longer, whereas now we have quick scenes, one shot to the next, it moves. Whereas things in that time, the scenes were longer, more drawn out, and so it feels like nothing's happening to me.
Well, you're saying it took an hour and 10 minutes to get to the rape and murder plot? That sounds like enough to sustain a whole movie.
Yeah, so the first hour and 10 minutes introduced characters mostly.
Okay, so I guess you were building up to that.
Yes. But then,
you're right.
you know...
Today it would have opened with that.
Yeah, that would not have taken nearly as long. So, but the movie was then later packed with lots more. The girl, it's pregnant, she has an accident, and at first I couldn't tell, but I think that the doctor did perform an abortion, which was illegal.
Okay.
So that was part of the plot line, you know, risking his career. And Allison is this good girl, and she's kind of the main character, but not much happens. She fights with her mom. That's the biggest drama between them, because her mom pretends to be this wonderful, perfect angel and blames her daughter, or just always assumes that Allison is, you know, out making love with boys and kissing boys. And when she herself actually had Allison through an affair that she was a part of, and she had hidden that. So there's that piece, but Allison is kind of angsty teen, certainly doesn't have the mother-daughter relationship that Rory and Lorelai have.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, well, in the show, Allison is there too, and because I did not watch all 514 episodes before recording this, I tried to do a little research into some of the plot that happened, and it sounds like they kept the story about Allison being illegitimate. Interestingly enough, so Allison was played by Mia Farrow in the show, and toward the middle of the run of the show, she started a romance with Frank Sinatra, actually, and he didn't like that she had a lot of long shooting days and wanted to spend time with her. So after a while, they wrote her out of the show because she just wanted to stop being on the show. But because it was so last minute or they didn't have enough notice. Well, first, backstory. She disappeared for 4 weeks from the set to spend time with Frank Sinatra without giving much notice, so they just put her character in a coma for that time. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so then when she basically just decided, I'm not doing this show anymore, she didn't re-up her contract, it says she just wandered out of town in a daze. That's how her character ended her run on the show.
Wow, she really ruined that character. She was a main character in the movie. She and her mom.
Well, and she was a main character in the beginning, and then Ryan O'Neal, who plays her love interest in the love triangle that she's in, he does stay on for about 500 episodes. It looks like from IMDb. And then the other girl in the love triangle, whose name, interestingly enough, is Betty, which, ties in with our last Archie episode, but she stays on for all 514 episodes. So
Interesting. So they were able to keep those characters, their plot lines going.
So I'm trying to see what else happened on Peyton Place. I had to take some notes because there's a lot going on. Oh, they tried to tackle race and introduced a black family into the town, and it sounds like that they did not handle it perfectly. They actually tried to get some black writers on the show, but then they didn't treat them very well. So I don't really know how to feel about that, because on one level I'm going, oh, that sounds very progressive in making black characters main characters on the show and also getting black writers in the writing room, but then they didn't actually follow through and do a great job with that. So that's disappointing to hear.
Yeah, I would hope the intention was good, but maybe just the actual staff were not on board with it.
Yeah, so it's a little tricky, and this description I found of it is the big picture of it, but it sounds like they had maybe good intentions but then didn't follow through well at all. It sounds like they were a little better with women's issues. So they had women writers, which sounds like that was pretty rare in the 60s too. And one of them was Carol Sobieski, if that's how you say her name. And she later was involved with the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, which, if you've ever seen, that's a pretty good movie. And then here's another quote from that AV Club article. So staff writer Peggy Shaw penned a scene in which the character Constance and Elliot, they returned from the market, and both of them, not just Constance, put away the groceries and prepared dinner. And this is what Peggy Shaw said about it, the writer. She said, I thought, well, that's one in the eye without saying anything. 9 million people are seeing that. So I guess in her mind, that was just a way to trying to subtly change a perspective on maybe not just the wife has to make dinner, which, boy, that is like a very small step, but
it's a step.
It's a step. And that actually, we're not to this episode yet, but it makes me think about the episode where Rory reenacts the Donna Reed show.
Oh, yes.
And cooks him dinner and tries to go back to the 1950s because Dean says, that seems nice.
That seems nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're saying that about being more friendly to women, I did notice that in Peyton Place the movie. So I'm not sure if they had women writers on the movie as well, but Selena, who was raped by her stepfather, she didn't want anyone to know. She swore the doctor to secrecy because she knew that she would be looked down upon, which is so sad because she did nothing, of course, to make that happen. She didn't want to lose her boyfriend, fiance at the time, and didn't want to be looked down upon. So he wasn't going to say anything until finally at the end of the trial, he comes out and says, okay, I have to share what I know, or you're going to put this girl away for a murder that she did out of self-defense. So he shared that, and as she's leaving the courthouse, the ending scene is everyone greeting her and hugging her and saying how glad they were that she was out and done with that, and they were supporting her, and it was shocking to her.
Oh, okay, so that, of the three things we just said about them being semi-progressive and then not following through on it, that actually sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, that was encouraging to me. And even the mother of the good girl, Constance, she didn't want to date this man, and so he did not force it on her, and it did not become, well, you have to date me because I want you. He actually left her alone, so I appreciated that too.
Yeah.
But, one thing I noticed in this movie, and I realized, I think I see it in a lot of old-timey movies. When I say old-timey, I mean 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Why do men always grab women right above their elbows? Have you noticed that?
You mean as like in a romantic way or in an aggressive way or
Sometimes both, but they grab them by the elbows and it's always a but Constance and she's no, but I noticed that grabbing them right above the elbows. No, you don't notice that?
Guess now that you mention it, I can think I'll have to pay attention to that now. Granted, probably now every time I watch an old movie, I'm probably going to notice this and think of you, but I have never noticed that before, I guess.
Well, I noticed it in this movie, certainly. The new guy in town who you said was the doctor in the TV show, but in the movie it was the principal who comes to town, and he wants Constance, and he grabs her by the elbows, but you must learn to love again. No. And grabs her right above the elbows. And we do not do that anymore. I don't know. Maybe it was a thing.
Okay, now I'm trying to pull up the episode that I watched and see if I can see if someone grabs somebody by the elbow.
Well, it's right above the elbows.
Yes. Well, there's a dramatic scene where Ryan O'Neal's character finds out that his dad is cheating with his secretary, who is the mom of Ryan O'Neal's current girlfriend, Betty.
Oh my gosh.
And
that was too much.
Yeah, and then Ryan O'Neal walks in on his dad kissing her, and then he yells at Betty because she keeps asking him what's wrong, and he doesn't want to talk about it. But no, I do not think there's any elbow grabbing or above elbow grabbing.
Above the elbow. Gotta remember that.
Yes.
Location.
Yes.
Okay, well, I wish that we could show that in an audio clip on here, but we can't. So if I find a clip, I will put it in the description because it happens a lot. And it's weird. And I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
Yes, I'm glad we don't either.
So, moving on from that.
Moving on from the above elbow grabbing. I feel like we're a little loosey-goosey today. We're just going all over the place with Peyton.
Are. I mean, the show had a lot in it. And the movie, too. There was a lot packed in.
Yes.
So, what about comparing it to Gilmore Girls? Did you see anything similar that you could pick out?
Well, I definitely got the small town feel. I mean, it's small town New England. That's definitely an overlap with Stars Hollow. Mm-hmm. It sounds like everybody knows everybody. And there's obviously the show is way more melodramatic than oh my gosh. What am I almost said Star Wars. What is this?
We are loosey-goosey.
I don't know where that even came from. Okay, so it is Peyton Place is more melodramatic than Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
But they do have that small town feel, New England. They also have a gazebo in the middle of their town, which
what up?
I wonder if that's some sort of nod. I mean, if Amy Sherman Palladino is familiar with Peyton Place, I wonder if there was any inspiration taken from that. I don't know if there's a gazebo in the movie, but there was in the TV show.
There wasn't in the movie.
Okay. I just think that's really interesting that they have some of those overlaps, and just the fact that it's a show where they let the drama play out slowly and that things can build over time. Obviously, Gilmore Girls didn't have as many episodes and wasn't on 2 or 3 nights a week, but it's still, well, that's one of the things I love about the show, is it's so much of the slow burn. Like, you can see something at the beginning of the season and it'll pay off at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, because when something new is brought up in an episode of a TV show, you know that by the end, the big twist is going to have to do with that one small occurrence that we just kind of happen to mention to you, you know it's going to come back. So it's nice when you hear about something several episodes ago and then it comes back and you get the payoff later and it feels much more natural.
Yeah. Well, and also the TV show dealt with a lot of issues of money and class. As I mentioned in some of the later episodes, they introduced Martin Peyton, who is the town patriarch. And actually, they suggest that he is maybe the possible model for the Simpsons' Mr. Burns, who is their
really?
it's a possible model for that character. So he is a villain, and he takes advantage of some of the lower class employees at his factory. So
interesting. That does sound like Mr. Burns.
Excellent.
And it's just interesting that they got into those issues. It's a small town, but there's also issues of class.
Mm-hmm. In Peyton Place, the movie, they dealt with that in a small way, in that the housekeeper for the main mother-daughter, Constance and Allison, her daughter was best friends with Allison. So even though they were of very different classes, you know, the housemaid and her husband and two kids lived in a one-room shack, essentially, and Allison and Constance lived in this beautiful home, and, you know, the mom came and cleaned it. The two girls were best friends, and I thought that was noteworthy.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. And that almost seems to have a little parallel with the Gilmore Girls revival, when Emily befriends her maid, who they don't know what language she's speaking, and her children.
Yes, at least Allison and Selena can communicate verbally.
Good.
Señora Gilmore, tan hermosa, y la casa vieja, y van mal, van mal, van mal. Pero mi marido, cuida everything.
Sure.
Y movemos aquí contigo, pero no tan sola, ¿ok?
Sure.
Oh, señora Gilmore, don't worry.
Fine, just take that.
Ah, seguro, bien.
What language is that?
I do not know.
I thought it was Spanish, but then I had the gardener trying to tell her to come in early one day, and he came back and told me she wasn't speaking Spanish. And it took me a while to understand what he was saying, because I need the pool man to translate for the gardener.
And it's also a fit, too, because in this scene in episode 3 of Gilmore Girls, Kill Me Now, Richard and Rory are in this very high-class environment of the club and gossiping about the secrets of the rich people who come to this club.
Yeah.
Okay, so I touched on it a little bit about Richard and Rory's conversation, but how do you think this reference fits into the context of the episode for you, Kyla?
I mean, it definitely fit, hearing all that drama and scandal, calling it Peyton Place, and that was very clever and accurate of Richard, or I was going to call him Edward, but Richard, to say that. And I think that Lorelai and Rory, if they would have brought that up, I would have believed it too, because I think they would have found that so much fun to mock all the drama. I can just hear them using their voices to repeat things, and oh my, he put the sugar on the counter instead of in the cupboard. Just making up melodrama and things that don't really matter. So I think it's kind of fun to think of them watching it too.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I think now that you mentioned that too, it also tells us something about Rory, because it totally makes sense that Richard would know what Peyton Place is, because he would have been watching TV in the 60s. But Rory was not around in the 60s. So she, by her implicit understanding and just continuing the conversation, especially with her grandfather, who she's still just getting to know at this point, we learned that she has a very well-rounded knowledge of TV and of history too. Has enough knowledge of it to put it in context of his conversation.
Yeah, she definitely didn't respond back sounding like she knew what Peyton Place was, but just like we understood in the context of the conversation, we knew Peyton Place was a place full of drama.
Yes. Although I think probably Rory did know what it was. Is going to be.
Oh, really? Why?
She just didn't seem fazed by it at all. And I think and maybe this is just tell me what you think of this. I think in getting to know her grandfather for the first time on a deeper level, I feel like she'd probably still be in that uncertain phase. And I think if she didn't know what that TV show was, it might throw her off for a second, or she might feel uncomfortable again. But because she doesn't seem to feel uncomfortable and just keeps up beat for beat with what he's saying, I think she did know what Peyton Place was.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that in the show, though, everyone seems to understand references. Although Luke, he admits to not knowing what Lorelai's talking about. So I guess I always assume that that's just part of the entertainment factor of the show, is all these references being thrown out, and characters may or may not understand what they mean, but it's fun to hear them as a audience. But maybe other characters react if they don't know what's being referenced.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, and I feel like Luke is a character that kind of goes back and forth over the series. Like, sometimes he knows what people are talking about, and sometimes he doesn't. So I don't know if that's inconsistent writing or if that's just Luke has a very weird pop culture understanding.
Yeah, I think it'd be that. He knows some, but he even told Lorelai, there's, I think in season 4, she is giving him a movie education.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
And he falls asleep.
And I think it's
Casablanca.
Casablanca, yes.
Here we go.
What's that?
Okay. A, no talking during the movie. And B, don't tell me you've never seen the FBI warning before.
It's new to me.
We are going to do a little something different since the revival came out and had time to watch it and maybe rewatch some parts, although I haven't watched it entirely. I don't know about you, Taylor.
I have not rewatched entirely, but I've definitely rewatched a few scenes.
Yeah. So I've done that, and I realized that there's some things that stood out to me that kind of jogged my memory and made me think, have I seen that in the original series? So here's a little new segment, depending on how much we find in the revival, where pointing out some things in the revival that we think are hints to or references to the original series. So I'm thinking of calling this Easter egg hunt in reference to when Kirk hides Easter eggs but does not make a map, and there are 59 rotting Easter eggs around the city square.
Kirk, something wrong?
Well, I don't touch the candy.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to touch the candy. It's
Kirk, I just had a spat with my Sourball distributor, and I'm not in the mood. Now, what's the trouble?
It's eggs.
What? What's eggs?
In the square, the smell. It's not skunks, it's eggs. Easter eggs from the Easter egg hunt.
But Easter was over a week ago.
And I did it just like you told me. I personally hid 300 eggs around the town square. And the kids had a blast hunting them down, except the Banyan boys. They're bad seeds. Going to hell, both of them. But the kids only found 241 of them.
Are you telling me that there are 59 rotting eggs hidden in the square?
I thought they would naturally decompose and just disappear.
Eggs smell when they decompose.
I just found that out.
Yes, so here's a little Easter egg hunt. In the revival, in summer, opens up to Rory and Lorelai walking in their swimsuits and with their towels and their big, beautiful hats. And they're sitting at the pool, talking casually, and you see Lorelai's proudly displayed tote with the phrase, "Totes y'all," written in bold. And Taylor, you know what that's from, but I'm not sure. What is it from?
So I am a Reese Witherspoon fan. I love her.
Woo-hoo.
Her social media just brightens my day. And so that's why I recognized that bag as soon as I saw it in the revival. It is a Draper James bag for the cheap price of $165 at draperjames.com, which I love you, Reese, but that's a little out of my price range for even a cute bag like this. But anyway, that is the bag that Lorelai had.
So it's just a brand, Draper James.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'll be buying the bag, but good job, Lorelai.
Yeah.
So
the inn is doing better than we thought.
Yes, apparently. So at first, when I saw the revival, just a tote, and I remember reading it and thinking, wow, she has a fun tote. But then going back, and I was watching through season 4, and I see, well, they didn't have totes before. So here's a clip from season 4, episode 1, when Rory and Lorelai come back from their European extravaganza.
So, let's get going. Get this stuff out of here. Okay? Wow. We sure have a lot of gifts. Do we like this many people?
I didn't think so. Maybe we're getting soft in our old age.
Okay, well, I guess we should get some tote bags.
What tote bags?
We must have tote bags.
Where would we get tote bags?
Excuse me, every woman who's ever purchased $75 worth of Clinique products has some tote bags.
We don't have tote bags.
Well, how are we supposed to get this stuff out of here?
So they don't have any totes, clearly, and just a random funny thing, because I think most people do have totes. I have tons of totes. I don't need any more grocery bags. I have totes.
Yes. And actually, I have a friend who calls me the tote bag queen because I have so many tote bags, and I got another one for Christmas, so add it to the collection.
You need to put totes in your totes.
Yes, I do have
full of
totes
totes
in my totes because I can't find where to store them.
I mean, that is the most logical way.
Yes.
So they don't have any totes in the beginning of season 4. And then we come to halfway through the season, episode 15. Rory and Lorelai go on a shopping trip with Emily, not on purpose, and end up with piles and piles of brand new junk they do not need. But the one item they actually want to keep and not get rid of? You guessed it. A tote bag. So you can see, I'm sure this was a carefully thought out plotline, that they didn't have totes, then they're fighting over totes, and finally by the revival, they have designer $100 totes proudly being used and displayed at their poolside. Well, that's our show.
Yes, dun, da, 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 that's our show.
We did it.
Yes, we talked Peyton Place, and there is so much more to be said about Peyton Place. The more I learn about the show and the movie, the more interesting I find it. There's more in this AV Club article about how it paved the way for modern TV that I think is interesting, and I'm going to have to look into that scandal of the person, you said it was the daughter who murdered in real life.
So in the movie, the woman who plays, she's not the one who plays the abused spouse. She's just a single woman in the movie. But in real life, she has an abusive mobster boyfriend who her daughter kills.
That is still crazy to me.
Is that not? I thought that was unbelievable.
Yeah. So now I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, and I think I want to watch a little bit of this show. I'm curious to see how much is packed into one episode.
It's hard to say because obviously I couldn't watch the whole show, but I actually would reconsider watching maybe a few more episodes just to see how they compare.
All right.
And change over time to go from black and white to color, for instance.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
But if you know more about Peyton Place, or if there's anything else that you think we missed in our coverage of the history, or anything else you want to know about it, feel free to tweet at us at So It's a Show on Twitter, or to send us an email at soitsashow@gmail.com.
Yep, and you can also tweet us on Twitter. I'm Kyla Kathnidou. It's spelled KYLACARNEIRO.
And you can find me on Twitter at tblake24, TBLAKE24.
Nice spelling.
Yes, I just felt like I wanted to be clear like you.
And our next episode, we are going to be in episode... Let's see, we'll be in episode 4, but it'll be episode 5 of our show.
Yes.
It's a little confusing. Well, we hope you liked our coverage. We enjoyed watching it. You guys, I think you should watch it too when you're alone on a Tuesday night like I did. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening again, and we will see you on the next time, or the next episode. Oh my gosh.
See you on the next time.
Oh my goodness.
What does that mean?
I'll see you in the next Star Wars movie.
No, Taylor, you can't.
I know.
You can't recover.
We're gonna see you in episode 4, A New Hope.
No.
Wrong episode.
Stop. Taylor, it was great chatting with you.
Yes, I super enjoyed it too, Kyla. Thanks for filling me in on Peyton Place the movie.
Thanks for telling me about the TV show. I'll talk at you later, and we'll talk at you guys later.
All right. Bye.